Good morning, Bardstown and Nelson County, and welcome to another edition of Bradford and Brooks. Jim Brooks and Margie Bradford with you again on this Wednesday morning, and it's a beautiful sunny Wednesday morning. I think it's going to heat up later, but right now it looks pretty nice outside. Good morning, Margie.
Good morning, Jim.
Well, you got a good parking spot today, so I'm way down the street. I barely got on this block.
Well, I did apologize to you for taking your parking spot, but in my defense, Your Honor, it's the only parallel parking spot I can get into without worrying about hitting another car.
Well, I think with the water line construction down on the square, it kind of took some parking spaces up.
Oh yeah, those are my preferred parking places.
Yeah, you can pull right in.
I can pull right in. I don't have to worry about parallel parking.
All right. Well, today we have a guy I've known for quite a while. I think since planning and zoning days.
Probably.
We have with us the president of Nelson County Economic Development Agency, otherwise known as NCEDA. John Downs is in the studio with us, and you've got quite a career, John. I know you spent a lot of it in banking, and I'm sure that the work that you've done in banking alone has contributed to changing the face of Nelson County. I mean, because it's to do anything major, build a house, build a garage, a lot of times it takes financing. And it takes somebody who can evaluate or just manage the people who are doing the evaluating and the loan products and things like that. Well, welcome to Bradford and Brooks, John.
Thank you, Jim.
And we look forward. We will have you back again sometime.
Hope to be back.
Yeah.
Hope to be back.
Well, and congratulations on. I don't know if I had You introduced yourself, I think it's at a fiscal court meeting I wasn't at. I saw you on Zoom, but and then maybe a city council meeting. I was watching that online too. But anyway, I thought they made a great pick with you.
Well, thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, I'm really happy to have him on because I found out that he's going to be a source of information for me on some of the things my kids did when they were in high school that I didn't know about.
Now,
so
I can't disclose everything. Now, some things
no full disclosure.
Well, your son had me sign a non-disclosure even back then. So
well, he always was a smart kid.
Yes, he was. Or he still is.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you all very much.
Yeah.
Well, John, tell us a little bit about. Let's see. I can't. My memory isn't what it used to be. I'm not sure it was ever a whole lot anyway. But you've been on the job now since. When was June, or was it before that?
Which year? It feels like I've been on the job a few years so far. But no, I started in May of this year.
Okay.
So a couple months, a little over, going on my third.
Okay, excellent. Well, you've never been too far from economic development.
It's strange how life is, Jim, because if you go back to my planning and zoning days, I would have never dreamt my career path would lead me to here because it's not something I was trying to do. Mm-hmm. When I was at planning and zoning, I was trying to guide and grow the community, and we had a lot of positive things happen when I was there, and I credit Tim Butler a lot for that because he was a really good director. And so he kind of taught me everything there was about planning and zoning. So I really appreciate that. And he's still around, so a shout out to him. And then, I had a heart attack back then. And I look back at the stats, and it was probably because we were doing about 400 plus houses. We got into 500s in my 5 years, or almost 5 years as director. Mm-hmm. I mean, we were growing. And every recession that hit, in the nation, whenever recession hit, it seems like Nelson and Bardstown missed it. All except the 08. Mm-hmm. Now the 08 really hit everyone, obviously. And then you had COVID come along. So there's been a lot of changes. When I left planning and zoning, Jan Johnson was hired, and she is a fantastic planner, and she's a legit planner.
Oh yeah.
And so it was a it's going to hurt losing her, but I've met the new lady, and I really believe she's going to do a fantastic job. Nikki's her name, and I've met her, and she's young and vibrant and has wonderful ideals, and that's what I'm seeing in these 2 months. All the young people that we have in our community that volunteer for Main Street, for Chamber.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the volunteers that we have in Nelson County and Bardstown are awesome. I mean, and they're very bright, these young folks coming up, which is good. I'm glad there's bright people out there. But we have a lot of positives to look for. So, long story short, when I went, and I had that heart attack, maybe look at things a little bit different. And the bank approached me to come to work for them, and I didn't know why, because, I had no knowledge of banking whatsoever. I could write a check, barely. But that's okay. I thought they were going to build a branch or something. Well, they offered me a job, and I ended up turning it down because I was afraid. A lot of times we're afraid of the unknown.
Sure.
And that's one thing that I try to encourage younger people is don't be afraid. Shine your light. We all have a light. We all need to find it one way or the other, but we need to be able to shine it, and don't be afraid, because we are blessed. Every one of us is special. I don't care what background you have. I don't care which party you belong to. I don't care. We're all unique, and it's just finding that light. So I stayed another year, and then I ended up getting a little burnout, because we had signs we took care of back then. We had design guidelines we had draw up, which came out really nice. We had a lighting ordinance. So we did all this stuff in a short period of time, which is really positive and left. That's what makes Bardstown and Nelson County so special.
Right.
We've had zoning since '74.
I know.
The city's had it since the early '40s or whatever it was. And it's historic zoning. I never heard so many people complain about that in my life. But realistically, it's the best thing we could do.
It's what's made Bardstown Bardstown.
And having tough regulations, I think, I've been on both sides. I've been on private side and I've been on public side. And the private folks out there that are taking the risk, doing the developments, when I'm in the banking, they're taking a lot of risk, and they're helping us grow and building jobs and communities, but we're all on the same page, and we have to work together. And that's been a little bit of you always have, whenever you have humans involved, you're going to have personalities, you're going to have fear of unknown and fear of change. And with the change of leadership, Dean did an awesome job. He really helped me out and helped me at planning and zoning. I'll never forget it. And I mean, just look what we have. It's just beautiful. And the mayor's done a really good job. Kim, you can't replace her. You can only try to build on the foundation. She's a wealth of knowledge as far as contacts, and she's been taking me around. So, there's a lot of good stuff, and I'm really happy to be here. I didn't really intend to get this job, but it just happened that I got it. So with planning, banking, it really fits hand in hand with economic growth and development, and we just need to work together. That's all. That's what I'm all about. So.
All right. Well, I would tell you that, of course, I've been covering fiscal court for years, and I remember when the county bought the industrial park, and I think there were a few magistrates who were very skeptical, thought that was kind of a boondoggle, and that they'll never fill 100 acres out there. And just look what happened. Of course, the county had to invest money. You had to have somebody invest that money for infrastructure, all that. But man, how did that pay off? I mean,
it's fascinating, the growth with Kentucky, and I really, and Governor, again, this is my political view, so I'm going to throw it out. I don't like either of the parties. I'm talking about national.
Right.
And, it's just part of the game. The system's set up and the system works fine. and we all have a voice, and that's fine. And whoever we're for doesn't bother me. But we're all here together, and we need to work together. And that's one thing nationally I don't see a lot of working together anymore, and that's okay. Hopefully the young folks will come up and change that down the road. But we're really not divided. I mean, if you look at the stats of, I think 40% or plus are independents, and each party has lower 20s. And so, but if you were thinking it'd be a 50-50 split between the red and blue, and it's not, and it's just part of the system itself. So you got to work within it and try to reach your goals. But it's not about personalities, it's not about politics, it's about helping others and trying to grow smart. And that's what we've done. We've grown really smart. Now, people are coming. Now, we cannot stop that.
Right.
I don't care what you do, you can't stop it. The word's out now. Nelson County is a hopping place.
It is. It is.
And with the growth, you got to plan. And that's one thing, we're a little bit behind the 8 ball. And when I say a little bit behind, it takes time to plan. I mean, we need roads, we need sewers, there's a lot of things, and we're not alone.
Right.
This is throughout the nation. I mean, everybody's housing is shortage. It's short throughout the nation. Workforce is short throughout I mean, everybody's echoing the same issues that Bardstown is in Nelson County, but we're just an individual. So we have people that really care, that want to do and make positive changes. So let's put it that way.
Right.
Well, talk to us a little bit about some of the things that you're learning that you're going to be doing to, to reach out and get other,
Sure.
to bring in more development.
Well, in the development, every home that's built is economic development.
Right.
Every storefront that goes vacant out here and we refill it is economic development. So there's more to economic development than just landing the big factory. Now, they all go hand in hand.
Right.
Every bit of it. The chamber's economic development. Tourism is economic development. So there's a lot of hats you have to wear, but they really work together. The tourism, the Main Street, the chamber, Bardstown Capital or Bourbon Capital Alliance. It just came on a few years ago. They're not under NCEDA technically, but we have a place on their board. But Sam's doing a fantastic job there, and then Randy at Main Street, and Lisa at Chamber, and then Stacy and her staff. I mean, the tourism and the amount of people that come to Nelson County just kind of blows you away.
Yeah.
If you go to one of the distilleries at their visitor center, just start looking at license plates.
Right.
You come around Nelson County, start looking at Nelson or license plates.
When I realized that this bourbon boom is a real thing, is because this year I have been 2 places out of state. One was to St. Louis, Missouri, for a funeral. And one was to Myrtle Beach with a vacation with my family, where I go where we go every year. The 2 times I went out to eat, the people who were serving us found out we were from Bardstown, and each one said, we are, we've got tickets for the Bourbon Festival.
Sure.
Or, oh yes, we're going during the
Bourbon Trail.
The Bourbon Trail. I mean, and this is, I wasn't talking to a lot of people.
I know. And it's just,
and that is just, I mean, to me it was just astounding, because I don't see that many people out of Bardstown.
You're right, Margie. I mean, the secret's out. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's where you come in with the planning, is we have to plan for our roads or infrastructure or water, which we're doing a little bit of, but we have a long way to go, but that's okay.
Right.
That's what we're looking for. I want to do things, and that documentary I was telling you all about earlier on, and basically what it is we need to remember how to treat each other and how to treat the land. What I mean by that is, whenever you make a decision, just like the digester Jim and I were talking about earlier. You know, how is this going to affect not just this today, how's it going to affect 3, 4, 5 generations down the road? And that's how we have to think when we're planning. And so that's what we're trying to do. And again, my position is a nonpartisan position, which I'm glad, because politics is not my thing, meaning it's part of it, but we're non-party affiliated with my position, which feels good.
Yeah.
You know, I've covered, you know, what's happening in the communities where I've worked, the state government and roads and the road departments and all that, the state highway department. And my take on it is that when they're building a road, they're a lot of times it's not looking down what may happen. It's to meet the more immediate need. And sometimes that's got to be frustrating, because you know that the need will be there, you know, for another lane or a turning lane or some other improvement. And of course, those can be added later. But, you know, when they redid Louisville Road, they had like, you know, 200 feet of right of way, and they didn't put full shoulders on that section.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much that would have cost, but I know that, you know, in that time they were squeezing every penny they could. But it was a little, just my personal opinion, a little short-sighted, not to have a full shoulder there, especially if you're driving something heavy.
And you're exactly right, Jim. You know, and that's where it comes down to money.
Yeah.
And bottom line is you know, with the state being in their deficit with the pensions and all that, you know, it's hard to support. You know, I tease my brother, and he retired. You know, he could retire when he's 47 and get paid for the rest of his life, which is, I'm not criticizing by any means. I'm saying it's not self-sustainable, and that's why most businesses got away from pensions, because you can't. You know, we're living longer. You just won't. The math won't work, and that's neither here nor there. So during that time, I'm sure it was because of the money crunch. Brashear's I really like his ideas and his plans, and throughout the state, it's used to be. For development, you know, it used to be people would fly in, you'd have them for maybe a week, you know, visit but now they know everything about your place before they even get here.
Right.
And they may fly in for a couple hours, but then they may go to another county. And so the theory of the state government, which I think is brilliant, is we all need to be on the same page.
Right.
You know, when they come to Nelson, we have the same checklist, we have the same questions. When they go to a rural community like Hart County, let's say, well, they may not have an economic development director, you know, but they need to be on the same page as well, because with the mega stores or the mega sites that are happening, we have one in our region with Blue Oval. What the governor wanted to do is divide the state into regions, which makes sense. Every one of them has a site for a mega site. Then all the counties around it will benefit.
Well, sure.
And see, it makes perfect sense. And the problem, what I've seen with economic development in any kind of agencies, is unfortunately every 4 years it could change.
Exactly.
And when it changes, that's you almost have to start over again, working together. And I wish it wasn't like that, but that's
the
the way it
nature
is.
of the beast. Yeah.
That's the way it is. But you know, I'm looking for a lot of good things, like transportation. You know, I see people get out of taxis to go to the grocery, and they, you know, first of all, they can't afford a car. They sure as heck can't afford that taxi. And so we need to provide some type of public transportation.
Yes, that's where the United States has really, really fallen down. And we lack affordable mass transportation.
Yeah.
I mean, what they did for the railroads was absolutely, it's scandalous. I mean, it should never have happened. I mean, remember, we ran the railroad all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast back under horrible conditions, and you don't have it now.
Well, and that's unfortunate, because I truly believe the same thing. You know, our grid was set up on the interstate system, which was wonderful at the time after the war and so on and so forth, and it really spurred our growth.
Sure.
But at the same time, every 4 years, you know, we need infrastructure. And, you know, because the sides won't work together, both sides, it's like we never could get anything done.
No.
And that's unfortunate, but hopefully that'll change. You know, with the infrastructure bill that was passed. It's going to be but we're still behind the 8 ball.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, if you go to Europe,
we're so far behind.
or you go to Japan, I mean, you get on a train and you can go anywhere.
Right.
Even Ireland, you get in on a train in Ireland, you can travel from one side of the country to the other without missing a beat and servicing all the small towns along the way.
Oh yeah, and then, you know, it's fascinating. New York City, look at that. I mean, there's a program on Cheddar News. It's on one. And it tells you how they developed New York over the years. And they touch on every industry, garbage, water. I mean, New York has the cleanest water in the nation. And you think about how did they do that? How did they build these subways that long ago?
Right.
And it's really fascinating, and watching these documentaries really just, so it can be done. We, Americans, have chosen not to do it for years, and that's all political. And that's one reason I don't like politics in that sense, because we are behind, meaning it's both sides. So, and I can preach on for it forever, but
yeah, we had a vibrant rail system here in Kentucky. I mean, when I was a kid, growing up in eastern Kentucky, I could get on the train and go to Louisville or Lexington to shop at the department stores, and get on the train and come back up into eastern Kentucky where the roads were.
Yeah, and see, we have access. We could do that as well, but now it'll take money.
Yeah.
You know, but we got 2 trains in the community that can get to Louisville. One day maybe, but you're exactly right. Our infrastructure, you know, but that's another thing I want to touch on again is because I've heard this and you all have heard it. You know, why don't we just change our name to Bourbon Town? And I mean, I've heard there's nothing for kids to do and so on and so forth. However, that's that's out of our control. Meaning, growth is going to happen regardless. It's here. We have to live with it, and we have to work with the bourbon companies because they're a tremendous asset to our community as far as our tourism. But we also are rich in religious heritage. Gethsemane, St. Joe, Bill Shekels and his Black Church Museum. I mean, it's fascinating. And so, just a funny story, because this is interesting. The first, second week I was here, we had a National Bourbon Week. And so I would go to all the events, and I couldn't find my wife, and I was looking for her, you know, was at the opening night. And there was a couch over in the corner, and she was sitting with 3 women. And so I said, well, there you are. And we go over, and 2 of them are from Virginia, one from North Carolina. And they were here with their husbands, and they were asking her, is there anything for us to do? You know, we're just hanging out with them. So with that, you know, we're going to try to get that angle. And, you know, it's more, our county's rich in history. It's rich in religion. It's rich in bourbon. And I'm talking about the entire county. So that's one thing, you know, we have to remember is there's so much more than bourbon. Now, the city has improved a lot of the parks. Oh, yeah. Hats off to them for doing that. Because what I have found when I do visit New York is that what a lot of people do. They go to the park, you know, because that's some quiet time. And that's one thing I want to do is leave a decent park behind one day. You know, but we have a lot of people that can serve their land. A lot of people have put their land in trust, which is, it's good and bad. It's bad on the development side because we can't touch it, but it's great for the future. You know, we have Bernheim Forest just up the road. We are just a blessed community. We really are.
Well, John, we had the mayor on a couple weeks ago, and the recreation director. And so anyway, and he answered that question about, well, they say there's nothing for kids to do. Well, the city has a whole slate of activities that they do, and so there's things to do. The problem may be getting the word out, and I think kids' tastes have changed. They don't want to go bowling, like we do, or go skating.
Sure.
It's maybe it's computer related or gaming and that sort of stuff.
Oh, sure.
But there's things for kids to do. You just have to know where to look for it.
You have to know where to look for it, and then some things, okay, let's say, the Dave & Buster's. Let's take that for example.
Right.
That's high tech. It has everything the kids are wanting to do. All the high tech video games.
It's the what?
It's called Dave & Buster's. It's a big amusement. You
Restaurant.
can bowl. You can eat pizza. Have birthday parties.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's huge, but it costs money.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
And a lot of people can't afford to go there more than once a year, maybe.
Right.
So we can get events like that, but it's going to cost. And so what I want to do is make, whatever event we do get, let's make it affordable and accessible to everyone in the county, not just the people that can afford to go there.
Right.
Because a lot of times we forget, the resources. You're talking, Margie, it's the same way with workplace development. These people are needing training, and the state's doing so much positive on workforce. The schools are doing a great job on workforce. And so we have all the puzzle pieces. We just need to slowly put them together, and we need to work together. That's how you get things done.
Well, John, you were talking about, mass transit, public transit. My daughter works for a Washington, D.C. PR agency, and they finally let her move home so she could work remote.
Awesome.
So she's been living back here for a couple of years. But we went up to see her, and they had 2 cars when they moved there, and they sold them. They don't need them. They got the train, they got the bus,
Metro.
and it's just a really, and so it was amazing. I mean, we went from where they live out in the northwestern part of D.C. down to the Capitol and all that, and it was so. And now I will tell you, I was using a mobility device, scooter, and the Metro was equipped for that. That was not a problem.
Well,
it's
speaking
amazing.
of that, Jim, let me just cut you off a second,
Okay,
because
sure.
you just reminded me of something. And this is, again, the resources, and we have to get the word out, Margie, to people that we have these programs. And just like people trying to find a job, and we're trying to train people. Well, if they don't have a car, they can't get
Right.
to the workforce place. So we need to go out and meet them where they are. And same thing with a good thing of the food pantry down here,
Yeah.
St. Vincent. They're doing a fantastic job. I was at a function the other day, and they actually have a food truck
Right.
that can travel, and they're going to be going to where the people are.
Right.
And I think that's fantastic. And, it's sponsored by local businesses, so everybody's working together to get out to the rural areas to help
Now, where is this? Where are they doing this?
here in Nelson County.
They are doing
Yeah,
it here.
It's fascinating.
I did not know that.
It's a walk-through. It has fridge on one side, and, it's like a buffet, and then you get to the end, and it's handicap accessory and everything. I mean, it's a little bus. It's called Food on the Move or something like
Yeah.
that. And it's a wonderful program. But again, we have to do that with not only providing food, but we have to provide workplace housing. We're short. And it's
It's terrible.
and it's everywhere in the nation. We're about 35 to 40% short on housing, and it's workforce housing. What I've seen in economic development so far is you rebuild a community, and that's great. But a lot of times you price people out.
That's
Right.
exactly what's happened here in Nelson County.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of little homes that were affordable have been all rehabbed, and they look wonderful. They look beautiful, but they don't provide the housing for those people, and where do
No.
they go?
Where do they go? It's a
Right.
good question. And what we're looking for at the state level, what I want to do, and I know the mayor has been talking about, and the county judge as well, is we need to provide housing for the workforce. And what I mean by that is the state's trying to, we're allowing these accessory homes, and they can be tiny homes.
Right.
Well, the state rules, with change, you have to sometimes change laws.
Right.
Well, evidently, Kentucky may be one of the toughest states, maybe, to bring in these tiny homes. And what they do, they can make them elsewhere.
Right.
They're built just like
Sure.
a stick-built home.
Yeah.
They're just shipped here. That's the only difference. And, well, the rules are, so we have to go through those hurdles. But, I mean, you can get homes down to about 80,000 that will be affordable for work. And that's where the business can pitch in and help out with housing for workforce. And it's like that everywhere. You go out to Breckenridge, Colorado. You have all this people that are working at the ski lodges and all the hotels. Well, they're our workforce. I don't know about you, but I can't live in Breckenridge. It costs a little bit too much for me. So you can imagine the workforce there. So we have to provide housing for. And again, this is not a unique problem for Nelson County. It's throughout the nation.
But it's really going to be made worse by that Blue Oval plant.
It's going to be made worse. Sorry, Margie. But one positive, when I was training in Lexington just last week, and this is a fascinating program. You have all the drug addiction in the nation.
Right.
And of course, that's not going away anytime soon. And so we're working with recovering addicts to find them jobs.
Right.
And so there's a lot of good communication out there that's happening. And now, again, this is throughout the nation. This isn't just in Barstown, Nelson County, Kentucky. It's this way everywhere. And it's nobody's fault. We can point fingers here and there, but that doesn't matter. I like living in solutions, not the problem. And the solution is let's work together and come up with ideas and not just talk about it, let's actually do it. And so we have to address workforce, transportation, sewer infrastructure, so on and so forth. I mean, there's a lot of work to do, but that's one reason I really did this is because I want to leave, this is me personally, it's not about me, it's about us and about working together as a team, city and county, and just getting the job done for the people, not for this side or that side, but for the people.
Right. Well, John, we need to take a break. We got some commercials to get in. You're listening to Bradford and Brooks and our special guest, NCEDA President John Downs, and having an interesting conversation. And we'll be back with more with John and Margie and me in just a few minutes. Stay tuned. All right, you're back with Bradford and Brooks, Jim Brooks and Margie Bradford. And sometimes I think our conversations during the breaks would be a better part of the show than some of the conversations, at least Margie and mine. Anyway, we're back till the top of the hour, and stay tuned to WBRT for the best in state and local news. All right, and we're back with our special studio guest, John Downs. And, well, John, it's I'll tell you, you talk about putting all the puzzle pieces together, and I think that's where you need to be able to pull back from something so you're not so close to it and look at the big picture. And sometimes that can be really hard to do, especially if you're in tight, working on a part of a project. It's hard to see how all the pieces weave together. Right,
it is, Jim, and one thing I've always tried to do, even back when I was at Planning and Zoning, is, we did comprehensive plans, so you got to look down the road.
Right.
And the development issue about Louisville Road, I was in Ohio one time visiting my son in school, and they did it the way we should do it, meaning it was coming off an interstate, and then you're on a single road going to the college. Similar to how Danville Center was. Remember years ago before they put the bypasses in?
Right.
You're on this old...
Yeah.
Well, they put the interstate in, but just made one lane. It went from 4 to 1, and then you go to this college. Well, along the right-of-way, just like Louisville Road, you said a couple hundred feet, they built the entire, all of it, just didn't put rock and blacktop down. And I'm thinking, that's brilliant. And so I brought it up at a meeting about 12 years ago, and it was all about the money.
Yeah.
That'd be great to do,
But,
because all you got to do is go in there and blacktop it.
right.
But see, I'm going to push back on that. What's about the money deal, because I'm not the brightest bulb in the ship. I know the price is just going to keep going up.
Yeah.
So if you spend it today, you're going to save taxpayers money down the road. And that's one thing we fail to do. I'm talking about as communities, and
Sure.
it's happening nationwide. We're not looking down. All we're looking for is today. How's
This
it gonna-
fiscal year.
Yes.
Well,
And unfortunately, we have a lot of things that are really messed up in America. However, we're still the greatest country in the world. And if we just do it right, we could be so much better. But again, I'm not blaming anybody. I blame the individuals. We have to come up and we have to get together and we have to make the change as far as we know what we want. If we had our vote, the infrastructure and trains would already be in there 20 years ago, right?
right.
Well, that's what we got to do. We got to use our voices and be involved, and not just when it's next to you.
Right.
Get involved when
Yeah.
something's not going on next to you. Because what I've found in politics, this is my short time at planning and zoning, that was political, but it wasn't, similar to this job, is it's always going to change, meaning that's a system.
Yeah.
So we have to live within the system. And a friend of mine told me this advice one time, and it was really eye-opening. And I was saying, how do you get around this political, these landmines, because you got two opponents over here. And he said, it's like you're on a river. And I'm not going to give you the fellow that gave me this, but it was wise. He said, it's like you're on a river, and your goal is up there. Transportation, housing, so on. And then you see the goal, you keep your eye on the goal, but sometimes you got to maneuver around the politics. And I'm like, that's really good advice. Meaning, because here's what we're trying to get done.
Right.
How we get there sometimes may not be the exact way we want to get there.
Meander a little bit. Yeah.
Yes. And I said, that's brilliant. So hats off to him.
When you're talking about Bardstown and its historic tradition, I mean, we really have to give all kinds of credit to our local government.
Oh, sure.
And to the individuals who insisted on historic preservation, who helped put those rules into place to preserve what we had. I mean, how many times do you roll through towns here in Kentucky and the downtown is just a wasteland? I mean, they've got ugly signs and there's no core to the town at all. And what they've done here in Bardstown is preserve the core of the town in its historic, its historic relevance. And I give my friend Dixie Hibbs and
Saint.
Yes,
I would vote her for a saint.
Yeah,
if I had anything to do with it.
well, for Dixie and and Franklin too. I mean, they were both very
Franklin,
heavy.
Mayor Wilson years ago.
Yes,
there was a lot of just players, and again, you're exactly right, Margie. Kentucky has more counties than any other state besides Texas. And Texas is huge.
Yes.
And so we have way too many counties, and we have way too many. I mean, I'd be for, and I've told this parties in the past, I'd be for a merged government because you're not wasting resources. You're not having two garbage trucks. You're not having two police. And to me, but see, that's where sometimes people don't like that because we've always done it. And that's okay. That's okay. I'm just telling you what I believe. And I think if we work together, we can really get a lot of things done. And you're exactly right. Out of the 120 counties, only about 20-something, 22 or 23 have zoning.
Right.
In the county.
Right.
Most of the cities have them, and that's what you're running into with economic development. Is it's a catch-22. If you can't get annexed into the city, you can't have sewer and you can't develop, and then you got corridor annexation.
Yeah.
And so it's not just a problem here in Nelson County; it's a problem throughout the state. As far as, but you're right. That's what I call planning. Whoever thought about that back in the 50s, 60s,
Yes.
40s, they saw something that we generations later say, man,
Well,
I'm
they
glad
saw
did
that. They saw it was worth preserving, not
Exactly.
tearing down. It's not an old building we want to get rid of. This is a treasure we want to take care of.
And look at the result
Right.
right now. And that's why
It's made Bardstown a place people want to come to.
Bardstown and Nelson County. I
And
mean,
Nelson
like Nelson County, you take Gethsemane over there. That place is fascinating.
Yes, it is.
I mean, it really is. I used to go over there as a kid, and we used to camp out, and just thought it was the coolest thing. And whenever you're going out there, it feels special. I don't know what it is, just something about it. Nazareth, the same way.
Yeah.
You pull out Nazareth, same feeling. Sisters of Loretta, same thing. And there's this triangle, Washington, Marion, and Nelson, has such a rich history.
Oh, it
in
does.
religion.
If you've read any of the books,
Fascinating.
and of which I have, about the founding of Nazareth, it's just fascinating.
It's mind-blowing.
It is.
Really is.
Yeah.
And people here in town, like Nazareth, even I admit, I didn't know what all they did. I got on a board out there several years ago, and it's like, these ladies are amazing.
They are.
The monks are amazing. The history of the church, St. Joe, the
Yeah.
black church, and that's what I mean about there's more to Nelson County than just bourbon.
Yeah.
We have such a rich history, and a lot of times, people feel left out. Hey, what about us out in the county? It's not anybody's trying to leave each other out, but we do need to address the big picture. You're 100% right, Margie.
I want to tell you, John, we're just about down to the wire.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's been an hour already?
Yeah, just almost an hour.
Well, this has been fun, Jim.
yeah.
Well, I've enjoyed it too. I have to have you back.
Sure.
And especially when you have some economic development news that we'll want to hear maybe. Or I'm sure we'll want to hear it. But I think the Blue Oval is going to, it's presenting the region with a lot of different challenges.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, and we need to be ready to do what we can. Now, EVs seem to have their own challenge right now.
It does, but the intent is there. Like, I have a hybrid myself. My wife has a hybrid.
Yeah.
And I love them. And that's maybe hindsight. We should have maybe focused more on hybrids these first 2 or 3 years as we get our infrastructure in throughout the nation. Because I'm hearing the battery life on these cars are going to get longer and longer.
Right.
If we get the price down where they're affordable for everybody,
Right.
then it's going to be a win-win. So,
Right. Well, of course, the automotive companies are looking further down the road than we are.
oh, yeah.
So that's what they're preparing for.
Sure.
They're getting the infrastructure ready for that.
Exactly.
All right, John. Well, I'm just about to blab us right off the air here.
Well, it was a pleasure speaking with you all. I mean, I've known you forever, and I think you all do an awesome job,
Oh, thank
too.
you.
Well, I appreciate you bringing your expertise and opinions in with us today and sharing your information. I tell you, I don't know. I think Kim is still helping, I'm sure, but that would be for somebody who's in that job as long as she was and is successful. It would be hard not to keep thinking economic development. You've got that in your blood.
Well, what happens is where she's a big help for me is just her connections.
Right.
Because,
right.
again, meeting the people is what makes it so fun.
Right.
Right. All right. Well, we're out of here.
Okay. Thank y'all.
Stay tuned for the news at the top of the hour, and we'll see you next week with another Bradford and Brooks.